Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. The king inquired, at the end of the pastimes of the Lord of the three worlds, Sri Krishna, and after the disappearance of the members of the Vrishni and Bhoj dynasties, who were the best of the great commanders? Why did Uddhav alone remain? Purport. According to Sri Jiva Goswami, Nidhanam means the transcendental abode of the Lord. Ni means the highest, and Dhanam means opulence. And because the abode of the Lord is the highest manifestation of transcendental opulence, his abode can therefore be called Nidhanam. Apart from the grammatical elucidation, the real purpose of the word Nidhanam is to indicate that all the members of the Vrishni and Bhoj dynasties were direct associates of the Lord, and after the end of his pastimes, all the associates were dispatched to their respective positions in the transcendental abode. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur elucidates the meaning of Akritim as pastimes. A means complete, and Kritim means transcendental pastimes. Since the Lord is identical with his transcendental body, there is no question of his changing or quitting his body. To act in accordance with the rules and customs of the material world, the Lord seems to take his birth or leave his body. But the pure devotees of the Lord know well the actual fact. It is necessary, therefore, for the serious students of Srimad Bhagavatam to follow the notes and comments of the great acharyas like Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti. To others who are not devotees of the Lord, the comments and explanations of such acharyas may appear to be grammatical jugglery. But to the students who are in the line of disciplic succession, the explanations of the great acharyas are quite fit. The word upagateshu is also significant. All the members of the Vrishni and Bhoj directly reach the abode of the Lord. Other devotees do not reach the abode of the Lord directly, but the pure associates of the Lord have no attraction for the opulence of any planets of the material world. Sometimes, due to inquisitiveness, devotees who are to be promoted to the abode of the Lord have some attraction for the opulence of the higher material planets above the earth, and thus they desire to see them while going up to the perfection. But the Vrishnis and Bhojas were directly dispatched because they had no attraction for material planets. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also suggests that according to the Amarakosh dictionary, Akriti also means signal. Lord Krishna ordered Uddhav by signal to go to Badrik ashram after his departure, and Uddhav, as a pure devotee of the Lord, carried out the order more faithfully than going back to Godhead or the abode of the Lord. That was the cause of his remaining alone even after the departure of the Lord from the face of the earth. So let us now chant the Mangalacharan and beg the Lord and his followers for blessings so that we may be able to enter into a discussion that will help us get closer to Krishna. Om Gyantimirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Before we begin this class, I'd like to seek the blessings of all the devotees that are here, both in person and online, that we may be able to speak something of benefit and something that's ultimately in line with Srila Prabhupada's teachings and desires. So it's very nice to be here once again in this holy place that is Bhaktivedanta Mana, Srila Prabhupada's temple, the home of Radha Gokulananda. We've enjoyed a very nice festival, Ram Navami, and before that we had a few Ram Navami lead-up classes. So just to refresh our memory as to what is happening in this canto and chapter, we understand that Vidur has left on pilgrimage, and he's come to the Yamuna, and it's there that he's met Uddhav. He's inquiring from Uddhav about Krishna and his family members, and Uddhav just goes into an ecstatic trance, remembering Krishna, recounting all of the wonderful pastimes, Krishna lifting Govardhan Hill, and other such mesmerizing pastimes that enchant Uddhav. So Uddhav tells Vidur that by Krishna's arrangement, the family of Krishna, the Yadu dynasty, they destroyed one another and they departed from this world. And Krishna is similarly departs and disappears from this world, and he winds up his pastimes like that. We understand that in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, we understand from the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam that Krishna tells Uddhav the Uddhava Gita. Now Uddhav has a special relationship with Krishna. We understand that Uddhav and Krishna are cousins. Actually, Krishna looks very much like Uddhav, and that was one of the reasons why previously Krishna sent Uddhav to Vrindavan to relay that message to the gopis. So when you look at paintings of Uddhav, you feel like, oh, this is Krishna. So they look very, very similar. And we also hear that between Uddhav and Krishna there was a code language. Sometimes Uddhav and Krishna would be together in the assembly. There'll be some important discussions to do with the administration of Dwarka going on, and everyone would leave the room. Krishna wanted a little bit of a break after the assembly, so he kind of adjourned the assembly, but Uddhav could stay back. Such was their relationship, that they could kind of talk freely. And Uddhav was similarly, in this way, an advisor to Krishna. So they shared a very nice relationship, and we'll hear Shukadev Goswami's response to Parikshit Maharaj's question later on in this chapter, so I don't want to spoil the nectar for you by diving into all of it today. But we understand that it was Krishna's desire that Uddhav share his teachings after Krishna's departure. So, in this purport, Srila Prabhupada tells us, he reminds us, who can really understand the purpose of Krishna? There are so many unanswered questions sometimes, even if we scour all the different scriptures. So there are some things that will remain a mystery, because who can really understand the heart of the Lord? Who can really understand the mind of Krishna? The materialist definitely can't understand. But by Prabhupada's mercy, and by the mercy of the Acharyas, we can get closer to some sort of understanding, if not a complete understanding, because we understand that Krishna is unlimited. He has unlimited forms, unlimited pastimes, unlimited desires, and his unlimitedness cannot be approached by limited us. But Prabhupada, by his kindness in presenting Srimad Bhagavatam and the other scriptures, helps us get closer to that unlimitedness. And so Prabhupada reminds us in this purport that we shouldn't think that Krishna is like us, that Krishna also has a material body, that Krishna is also bound by karma, that Krishna, like a materialist, is not in control of the situation he finds himself in. Krishna chooses to come at his own will, and he chooses to depart at his own will, and he chooses to invite people to join his entourage to assist him in his pastimes on this planet, and he chooses to dispatch them back to the spiritual world, all at his own will. So it is interesting, really nice, nectarian almost, that Prabhupada says, it is necessary, therefore, for the serious students of Srimad Bhagavatam to follow the notes and comments of the great acharyas like Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti. To others who are not devotees of the Lord, the comments and explanations of such acharyas may appear to be grammatical jugglery, but to the students who are in the line of disciplic succession, the explanations of the great acharyas are quite fit. So Srila Prabhupada used the commentaries of 12 acharyas when it came to writing his Bhaktivedanta purports. And I'm going to refer to this really beautiful book. It's called Prabhupada Appreciation by Satsvarup Maharaj. And he explains so many lovely things about appreciating the different contributions of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada's purports, Prabhupada's letters, Prabhupada as a theologian. So many nice things about the unlimited qualities and glories of Srila Prabhupada and his presentation of Krishna consciousness. Just as Krishna's glories are unlimited, Srila Prabhupada is pure devotee, his glories are also unlimited. And so it's important for us as followers of Srila Prabhupada to read books like this, to understand the great wealth that Srila Prabhupada has left us. And in here we understand that, I'm just going to read it actually. So Satsvarup Maharaj writes, the Bhaktivedanta purports are based on the commentaries of the previous acharyas. Srila Prabhupada would work from a Bengali translation of the Bhagavatam with commentaries by 12 acharyas such as Vishwanath Chakravarti, Jiva Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Sridhar Swami, Bir Raghavas Goswami, Madhavacharya, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So 12 acharyas, 12 different glorious personalities Prabhupada has painstakingly used to find the exact words so that we can understand with our limited conception of Krishna, with all of our conditioning that we bring to this world, with all the baggage that we carry. He's painstakingly worked, rising in the early hours of the morning while the rest of the world are asleep, to prepare these commentaries. Sometimes we hear when some personal servants would enter his room, we hear that Prabhupada would be working night after night, just trying to find the perfect word to insert into his purport so that we could understand and not miss what he's trying to explain to us. And further on in this wonderful book, Maharaj includes an appreciation from a great scholar, someone from a university. The name of this person is Dr. Bruce Long from the Department of Asian Studies at Cornell University. So it's nice that not only the devotees are appreciating Srila Prabhupada and his purports, but it's important that we see that the non-devotees who are looking at this from a different vantage point are appreciating Srila Prabhupada's theological contribution. This is very nice. He says, anyone who gives a close reading to the commentary will sense that here, as in his other works, Sri Bhaktivedanta has combined a healthy mixture of the fervent devotion and aesthetic sensitivity of a devotee with the intellectual rigor of a textual scholar. At no point does the author allow the intended meaning of the text to be eclipsed by the promotion of a particular doctrine or persuasion. That's mad. Should we read that again? At no point does the author allow the intended meaning of the text to be eclipsed by the promotion of a particular doctrine or persuasion. So Prabhupada is being super cautious, super careful. Let there be no stone unturned in my rendering of this Bhagavatam. Let it be super clear what my mission is, what Krishna is trying to say, what Lord Chaitanya is trying to bring to this world. One thing I was noticing also is quite nice how Prabhupada has done this. When we look at the CC and we look at the different pastime places that Lord Chaitanya visited, or the different places, because the CC spans so many different places. There's South India, there's Puri, there's different places in Navadvip, so many different places that is mentioned there. And if it wasn't for Prabhupada's purport, we would just read the CC almost like a story. We'd have Mahaprabhu's teachings, and that's great. But how much can we enter into these things? And what's interesting is whenever there's a pastime place mentioned, Prabhupada writes the exact directions of how you can get there. You go down such and such road, here's such and such station, and the pastime place you can reach by finding this significant site, and it's opposite here. It's interesting when you go to India, the addresses are quite funny. It's not like, this is my flat 10, 27 Eastbury Avenue. It's like such and such building, opposite this building, next to that building. And Prabhupada's done something similar. He's made some directions in his purport because he wants us to go there. So Prabhupada's not only giving us the translation of the scripture, but he's telling us, go there. This is how a devotee conducts themselves. They go to the pastime places, they develop a deeper relationship with the personality that resides there, or that was residing there. They develop a deeper relationship with the pastime that took place there. So Prabhupada is giving us very specific instructions. And these directions that he's giving with these, go to these pastime places, are very exact. And we should take them as serious instructions. We've got to go there, develop a relationship with these personalities, and in that way our Krishna consciousness would develop. So he's very much leaving no stone unturned. And he wants us to become serious students. That's what he says here. It is necessary, therefore, for the serious students of Srimad Bhagavatam to follow the notes and comments of the great acharyas, like Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti. To others who are not devotees of the Lord, the comments and explanations of such acharyas may appear to be grammatical jugglery. So it seems to me that we're either serious students or we're not devotees. Because I can't imagine Srila Prabhupada wanting us to become anything but serious students. I was recently in Vrindavan and had the good fortune of visiting Radha Damodar temple. We spent some time there, and we understand that Srila Prabhupada has his rooms there, really beautiful rooms that he was given. And there's a little veranda connecting the two rooms. You've got Prabhupada's kitchen and the place where he had prasad. And it was from that place that he could see Rupa Goswami's samadhi. Had a beautiful vantage point. And there's like a 10-foot veranda. And then he's got his bedroom where he rested and where he conducted his business. And what was his business? To translate the Bhagavatam. So we were there, and we understand that Prabhupada was crying night after night for the most part of 6 years, sweeping the courtyard, begging Rupa Goswami for empowerment, begging him for mercy, crying, "Please allow me to fulfill the instructions, the desires of my spiritual master. I need to go west. I need to share Krishna's teachings with others. I need to spread the Sankirtan movement." Srila Prabhupada was crying, not so that we can become mediocre devotees, so that we can become serious students. And sometimes what puts us off in Krishna consciousness, I feel, is we get quite hard-hearted as a result of putting a lot of pressure on ourselves to be this topmost devotee straight away. And when we meet with our conditioning, when we meet with the reality of our shortcoming, instead of reaching out for mercy, we kind of get very hard on ourselves and we feel very disheartened, and then we step away from Krishna as opposed to stepping towards Krishna, which is the way by which we can become Krishna conscious. It's funny, is it? We want to become Krishna conscious. We feel like, oh, we're not there yet, so we decide to move away from Krishna. But actually, we should be moving closer. Yeah, we'll wait for them any moment now. Yeah. Jai Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda Ki, Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Ki, Shri Shri Gaurnitai Ki. So yeah, sometimes we try to become Krishna conscious, we meet with our shortcomings, and instead of reaching out for the mercy of the simple process of this movement, we get very hard on ourselves and move in the opposite direction. And I was thinking about this when I was at Radha Damodar Temple, and I was thinking, but Prabhupada cried for the best part of 6 years for us. We are the product of Prabhupada's tears. Prabhupada went to Radha Damodar Temple, empowered by Rupa Goswami. He started this movement, and as a result of all that mercy, we are here. And then all of a sudden, because we can't make it due to our own shortfall, our own shortcomings, we feel like we want to take it easy because it's too hard to become Krishna conscious. Because if we try hard to become Krishna conscious, we'll meet again with our shortcomings, and that's just so uncomfortable for the heart to bear. But Prabhupada cried for us so that we may overcome that shortcoming. Prabhupada cried so that we could have all of these opportunities to become Krishna conscious. So all we got to do is take this gift seriously and understand that we don't have to do it ourselves. And understand that our shortcoming isn't a disqualification. Actually, understanding that we are not quite there. Understanding that we aren't all that we thought that we were. Understanding that we're not the Lord of all that we survey. We aren't in control. And our Krishna consciousness won't always go to plan if we don't reach out for that mercy. So when we do meet with our shortcomings and when we do meet with our limitations in approaching the unlimited Lord, we can remember the hard work that Srila Prabhupada put in to get us to where we are already. And then if we take real stock of where we are, we'll understand that it was never our hard work that got us here anyway. So why do we think it's our hard work that's going to progress us back to Godhead and to the next stage? We got here by mercy, by Prabhupada's tears, by Prabhupada's blood, by Prabhupada's sweat. And we're going to get to the next stage by that mercy too. I thought it was a nice reminder. When we go to these holy places, we remember the hard work that Srila Prabhupada put in to allow us to connect with these places. And then we can take that mercy further because it's not possible on our own endeavor. I looked up Sirius on the database. It's a great tool, the database. Whenever we're struggling with anything in our Krishna consciousness, we can look it up on the database. look up serious. What did Prabhupada say about serious? We look up enthusiasm. What did Prabhupada say about enthusiasm? I'm struggling with patience. What did Prabhupada say about patience? It's all there on the Veda base. So Prabhupada said on different occasions what it means to be serious. Prabhupada said one who is serious, he rises early in the morning and he chants his rounds. What does it mean to be serious? Prabhupada said when one is serious about Krishna consciousness, they seek out a spiritual master. And I think that happens in our lives. We get attracted to Krishna consciousness. And we think, okay, I'm convinced about this process. Let me find someone who can take me further. So at that point, maybe we can draw a contrast here. So at that point, we're thinking, I've reached a certain stage in my Krishna consciousness, and I'm ready to go to the next stage. Let me seek out a bona fide spiritual master. And by his association, by his mercy, by initiation, I'll be able to progress. In our innocence at the beginning, we feel like, yes, let me go for the mercy. But what happens after initiation, after some years, we can get a bit complacent, thinking we've been there, done that, we've got the t-shirt, I've got the beads, I've got the 3 rounds, I've got the new name, I'm done. And it is that mentality that makes us think, I don't want to work hard now, because I've worked hard in the past. And it's that mentality that thinks that we don't need more mercy that prevents us from proceeding further. It's that lack of seriousness then. It's that lack of seriousness of understanding that, oh, actually, no, I do need mercy. I do need to carry on. I can't become complacent. It's that lack of seriousness that prevents us from going further. So when we find a spiritual master, we're all enthusiastic. We're like, yes, let me go for it. And then once we found the spiritual master, the tendency is to grow complacent. And then when we meet with our limitation, instead of going after the mercy that we previously accessed, that got us to that elevated point originally, we almost chastise ourselves in our head, and we forget that we haven't gotten here on our own accord, by our own strength. We got here by mercy, and we're going to go forward by mercy. Does that make sense? So I was thinking a serious student is one who never lets his enthusiasm wane, and he realizes that I got here by mercy, so let me carry on with this process, which is very, very simple, to get me to where I need to go. So I remember one time someone asked a question to Giriraj Swami, a very simple question. I forget what the question was, but I remember the response. And Giriraj Maharaj said that whenever we find that something is lacking in our Krishna consciousness, and we want to proceed, we want to go forward, but we're not sure how, we can reflect and take stock of these 5 principal items that Mahaprabhu gave us in our Krishna consciousness and what our association with them is like. We can think, what is my relationship with Sadhu Sangha like? What is my relationship with Mathura Vas? What is my relationship with the temple, the manna, and visiting the holy places like? What is my relationship with the holy name? How is my japa? How is my chanting? And we can think, how is my hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavat Shravan? How much am I seriously taking to this hearing? I know when you give a list, you always forget the last one. So maybe you can help me out. What's the last thing? Nam Kirtan, Bhagavat Shravan, Mathura Vas, serving the deities. So what is my relationship like with Radha Gokulananda, Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman, and Gaur-Nitai? What is my relationship like with the deities? So we can take stock of these 5 things, and how much we're gathering strength from them. And sometimes we're going to be more motivated and more inspired to connect with one or 2 or 3 or 4 of these aspects more than the others. And we should approach these things like beggars, understanding that these are reservoirs of mercy, and we should gain strength and momentum from these things. And with that momentum and strength, we can take it to that fifth thing that we're not so much feeling enthusiasm for. So, a serious student is what Srila Prabhupada wanted us to become. One who is not complacent, one who doesn't allow his enthusiasm to wane, and one who constantly takes stock and reflects, what is my relationship like ultimately with this process? All of the answers to our questions Srila Prabhupada has given. The route back to Godhead is already there. It's written in stone. It's a simple process, and we just have to follow it. And sometimes we overthink it. We just got to follow the simple process that Srila Prabhupada gave us and not get distracted by the showiness of this world. I think that's what it means to be a serious student. A serious student is one who practices arjavam, one who is very, very simple. He cuts out the nonsense like an editor. You kind of, when you edit books, you kind of think, okay, how can I communicate this point as simply as possible? Let me cut out anything that is not required. Let me edit out anything that doesn't help communicate this point. Let this point be as clear and as straightforward as possible. Much like Srila Prabhupada's desire when he was writing these purports, let it be super clear, the understanding that I'm trying to convey. In the same way, let us edit out all those things that prevent us from being a serious student. And we simply follow the process. We can ask ourselves, is this in line with Srila Prabhupada's teachings? If yes, we proceed. If no, we revisit it. So why don't we... So I don't know how time's flown so quickly when you're discussing Krishna's pastime, discussing Prabhupada's teachings. Time seems to fly, huh? So why don't we have some questions and comments, and we have some very extremely and elevated personalities in our assembly who can definitely answer and respond. And I don't know, maybe Maharaj, is anything you'd like to correct or share or discuss on this point? Yeah? Is there anybody else? Antaranga Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much. You took the class in a very nice way, in a very personal, practical way. So I have to...
Sorry, Antaranga Prabhu, my hearing's not the best.
Sorry.
Do you mind? Thank you.
I just said you took the class in a very personal, nice, practical way for practicing Vaishnavas to how to imbibe the mood of a disciple or a devotee. So please forgive me, I'm going to take it through a more technical question.
Please.
There was one very interesting thing that Prabhupada mentioned in his purport. He says, all the members of Rishni and Bhoja directly reach the abode of the Lord. Other devotees do not reach the abode of the Lord directly, but the pure associates of the Lord have no attraction for the opulence of any planets of material world. This is quotation from today's verse. And then I've done a bit of research, and in 11th canto, in the chapter 6, and this is verse 35, there is an explanation saying that since Dwaraka is Parama Mangala, the most auspicious place, not even in imitation of inauspiciousness can take place there. Actually, Lord Krishna's pastimes of removing the Yadu dynasty is ultimately auspicious. And then the disciples of Srila Prabhupada continuing saying, after having sent the demigods back to their planets, Lord Krishna planned to return to the spiritual world. So here it seems that there is a difference. In one purport it said that all the descendants of Bhoja, Yadu and Vrishni dynasty left for the spiritual world. And here it is said that Krishna actually separated them, that not all of them went to spiritual world, but the demigod populace of the Yadu dynasty went back to celestial planets. So how we can observe these 2 points without seeing any clash with it?
I think that's a really good question, and I think it's a question beyond my realization. And I think it's timely that Govinda Prabhu entered the room. So perhaps he can assist with this one.
As soon as he started the question, I entered the room because I'd heard this before. The answer I've heard is when the Vrishnis and Yadus, they come, the Nityasiddhas there, the Nityasiddhas, but also other demigods can enter, so it's like several personalities in the one thing. Just like, for example, Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, they're Nityasiddhas, so how were they Drona and Dara in a previous life, and how did they have a sadhana progression when they're actually Nityasiddhas? The answer is Drona, there's several personalities in the same body, so there's some separation going on there. So, which is why the demigod aspect, they had to leave the dam in order to, because they weren't qualified to go back. Whereas the Nityasiddha aspects, they're going back. But that's only a partial answer, because I don't have the full understanding of, like, how do they actually leave? Is like one splits? Do they split in two, or what? Do the demigods kind of, when Krishna leaves Vrindavan, he's still there, right? So it's just how does it happen? The leaving and the demigods are kind of there, the same personality, but the Nityasiddhas are still there. I don't know. Anyway, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Have you got a response to the question? Yeah. We just wait for the mic to come.
Just to clarify, because it's quite over my head, and does it mean that is Govinda? Are you referring that, like for example, in Chaitanya Leela, you can have 2 or 3 personalities who are playing that role. It's like one particular person. There can be many different personalities in that same body. Yes, Jai.
Thank you, Prabhu. Does that help and answer your question, Antaranga Prabhu? No. It's all right. And then let us know. I'm also I'm also reminded of Mahaprabhu's departure from this world. And if we go to the Tota Gopinath temple in Puri, we see there's a crack in the deity's knee where Mahaprabhu is said to have disappeared through. But if we go to other places, they may say, oh no, Mahaprabhu disappeared this way. And I think there are 4 different explanations that people give for Mahaprabhu's disappearance. So I think that is also a part of the Lord's mystery and the Lord's Leela, that there can be simultaneously different things going on that are all correct. For us, we only disappear in one way. I mean, we just leave the planet in one way and that's it. There's no variety, no variegatedness, no simultaneous mystery happening. But the Lord, when it comes to the Lord and his pastimes, there's a whole other dimension that perhaps we're not capable of accessing. At the same time, not that we don't research and that we don't try and find out and read all the scriptures and go, cover the depth and the breadth of the shastras that are available to us, because that's what Prabhupada is recommending. But at the same time, I think that there's something to be said about the mystery element that exists. Yeah. Deva Rishi Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So I was just reading how it mentions, Prabhupada mentions, sometimes due to inquisitiveness, devotees who are promoted to the abode of the Lord but have some attraction for the opulence of the higher material planets above the earth, and thus they desire to see them while going up to the perfection. But for me, what I understood is that to go back to the spiritual world is ayetiki aprihata, is unmotivated, uninterrupted. So then it's like Krishna, and even Prabhupada mentions one of his lectures that until you're fully satisfied, until your desires are pacified or relieved, then you can't come to the spiritual world. Krishna is, you can take as many births as you like just to fulfill those desires. But it seems, that you can still go to the higher material planets, but then go up to perfection, go up to the spiritual world. I don't quite get that. If you could elaborate or explain.
I thought that was a comment. I was like, yeah, this is great. Okay, so your question, Prabhu, is
how is it that they were able to go to the higher material planets and yet go up further perfection? Why isn't that Krishna didn't arrange for them just to stay there and fulfill their desires, and then once they're done? Because from what I understand is, I can't remember the verse, but one of the verses in the Gita describes no matter where you go up or down in the material system, there's always repeated birth and death.
Maybe I can offer some thoughts and then the other devotees can add or correct. But one thing I'm thinking is that we don't go back to Godhead on our own accord. And I don't think we can become completely pure ourselves. And so I wonder whether going back to Godhead is much more about mercy than it is about our own endeavor. And I wonder whether by our own accord we're able to become pure. I don't think so. So I think that it is by the Lord's mercy that we go all the way up back to Godhead. Perhaps there may be some tinge of desire left. And by the Lord's mercy, that tinge or whatever's left, that fraction, that's not completely pure. Perhaps by mercy that can be overcome. So in the same way the Lord is fulfilling that material desire to see this material planet, and at the same time allowing us to overcome that desire and go back to Godhead. I'm reminded of Dhruva Maharaj, who had the desire to have a kingdom greater than Lord Brahma, and he was given that, that was fulfilled, and then at the end of his life the Pushpa Viman came, he stepped on the foot of death and he went back to Godhead. So perhaps there's that simultaneous thing going on of material desires being fulfilled for a devotee that is serious on that path, and the Lord's mercy playing a massive role in overcoming whatever material desire remains. I wonder what the senior devotees in the assembly have to say about that.
His desire was completely purified, because when he realized he was just asking for broken glasses, so that desire was kind of, how should I say, nullified, because then what he desired was just broken glasses. He realized the greater desire to be with the Lord and his association. So, but the Lord satisfied that desire nonetheless. But the desire for material planets, to see them, is still within that. It's not nullified for what it's mentioned here.
I think Dhruva Maharaj, he desired the kingdom, and then he received the darshan. He stopped desiring the kingdom, but got Krishna consciousness and the kingdom. And this is saying inquisitiveness. That says to me it's not like a full-blown desire. It says, oh, what must it be like? But he's fully on the Krishna conscious path. But I am interested to see what the scholars in the room have to say.
I don't have so much to comment on that, but just going back to Antharanga's question, because, well, it's kind of related, it's a similar topic of discussion here, but yeah, it's interesting because on one hand, this is an option I'm positing. Of the Krishna's family members that got killed and then went up, some were direct associates of Krishna from the spiritual world. There's a verse here, right? It's in Canto 3, Chapter 3, verse 15. There are devotees and associates of the Lord who comprise the Yadu dynasty. So, devotees and associates. Now, I'm just looking at it semantically. An associate is someone that's, let's say, they're with Krishna, came down with him, went back up again with him. And there are devotees who are doing service for Krishna here. So let's say they did their service on earth as part of this Yadu dynasty destruction, then had to finish up their service in the other place wherever they were positioned. Just like Srila Prabhupada would have someone in a certain service in a certain temple, but let's say for the next 6 months, he sends them to, okay, you go to Africa now. Then you have to come back to the manor, right? And then finish up your service here, and then go back. Because there are verses here in these, that saying, Prabhupada is very emphatic that they all did actually end up going back eventually. But I don't know if there's a gradation between those who just went straight back with Krishna, his associates, who directly came with him, and those who were devotees who were already doing service in the material world, that then had to finish up whatever they're doing, then go up.
Thank you, Prabhu. I think that's a really valuable contribution. I'm also reminded of when Lord Brahma prayed for Krishna to appear, and at the shore of the Milk Ocean, the Lord said, "Well, all of you now go and appear, all the demigods, all of you now go and appear on the earthly planet, and then I will come." So then the demigods are not going to go straight back to Godhead.
There's another reason why I'm also, I feel like there's something here, because Abhimanyu, we know the pastime when Abhimanyu died, in the Chakravyuha pastime in the war, he went back to the moon planet because Arjun then went after him, right? There's a whole pastime where Arjun went after him to bring him back, and then Abhimanyu is like, "Why did you come here? Like, I've done my life with you as your son. Now carry on with your destiny on earth." Now he's a demigod, but then maybe they're finishing up their service there before they all go back. Because Krishna may have used these demigods to come to earth for a specific time to help serve him in offsetting the influence of the demons. Then they have to still finish up their tenure in their respective planets before they all go back.
I think that's a very valuable contribution. Thank you, Prabhu, for shedding light on that. Maybe Govinda Prabhu, and then we should close.
The person who asked the questions left, but anyway. We often say that if you have any material desire, you can't go back to the spiritual world. Now, there's a verse in the 5th canto, it's 5:19:27, which appears to say something different. I'll read the translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead fulfills the material desires of a devotee who approaches him with such motives, but he does not bestow benedictions upon the devotee that will cause him to demand more benedictions again. However, the Lord willingly gives the devotee shelter at his own lotus feet, even though such a devotee does not aspire for it, and that shelter satisfies all his desires. That is the Supreme Personality's special mercy. So you have someone who has material desires, and then they end up under the shelter of Krishna. So maybe that possibly might explain it. I had another, on just a separate note, I had a different perspective about being desireless. The Acharyas, they analyze the term anya bilashita. You probably know this, right? It doesn't mean, anya bilasha means no other desire at any time. But a weaker criteria is anya bilashita, which means, generally speaking, one does not have other desires. So what if one generally doesn't have another desire, but then there's just this, it just comes, heavenly planets, then they're still anya bilashita. But they have this, it's just coming. Or the examples given is Draupadi, when she prays to Krishna, "Save me." It's like, that's not pure devotional service. Well, why are you asking to be saved? You're not this body or whatever. But it doesn't violate anya bilashita because it's momentary. So that's just one way to look at it.
No, thank you. Govinda Prabhu, thank you. Prabhu, Karan Prabhu.
Thank you for the class, Prabhu. You mentioned and discussed about becoming a serious student of the Bhagavatam. Now, we find that everyone has different natures, so someone may be more academically inclined or may like to study, and for them, it's easier to approach the Bhagavatam because Bhagavatam is quite philosophical also. But for those students who may not be so philosophically inclined or struggle academically, some people just struggle at school, some people find it more natural. So for those people who may not be inclined in that way, I was wondering if you have any comments on how they can develop a relationship with the Bhagavatam.
I'm reminded of that pastime where Lord Chaitanya walks past this Brahmana who's blind, and he's crying because he understands, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, he understands that Krishna is a charioteer of Arjuna, and the Lord becomes the servant of the devotee. So I think that really is the standard of being a serious student, that we don't study intellectually, but we study with our heart. I don't think the Bhagavatam is like a textbook. I don't think whether we were good at school or if we're academically inclined or not is a disqualification. Sanatana Goswami prays, every syllable rains pure love of God upon the reader. So we're not approaching this like for information. We're approaching this as an incarnation of the Lord that we want to serve with our heart. We don't really read the Bhagavatam. We worship the Bhagavatam with our intelligence. We serve the Bhagavatam. We want the Bhagavatam to transform our heart. So I think if we approach in that way, thinking that we're simply a beggar, and that in here resides the Lord and resides all the jewels that will help us fall back in love with Him, then we'll be okay. Does that make sense? I don't think we have to kind of like have all of these scriptures in front of us and read this and then, oh, what does that mean? What did this Acharya say about that? What did this Acharya say about this? If we're so inclined, we can go there, but I think we can also follow our taste and what comes naturally with us in this. You know what I mean? Like, it may not be for everyone to understand what every single word of the Bhagavatam means for with every single Acharya's commentaries in front of us. Let Krishna reveal it to us through our heart. You know? What do you think? You can challenge if you feel like that's not sufficient.
What do you mean by reading with the heart, or like?
Well, firstly, we approach the Bhagavatam in a submissive mood, understanding that the Bhagavatam is a reservoir of mercy, and it's not a book of information, but it's a book of transformation. And we don't really read to... sometimes we might kind of read something and not really understand it, and we feel like, oh, I don't get it. We kind of feel hard-hearted, and we think intellectually we have to understand it. But instead we should pray to the Bhagavatam, please reveal to me what it is that I need to know to fall back in love with Krishna. Not that we, on our own strength, approach the Bhagavatam as we would approach a mundane textbook. We approach in a prayerful mood, as opposed to in an almost investigative mood, like, what is trying to tell me? Well, no, my dear Lord, please reveal to me what it is you want me to know. I am so unqualified. Please reveal to me how I can fall back in love with you. Try it and let me know how it goes.
Thank you.
Shall we... I'm conscious that maybe the senior devotees can help me. I'm conscious that devotees want to go for breakfast or something. Or should we have a final question? Should we do that? Okay. Final question. Yeah. Cool.
Hare Krishna. It's not a question, actually. It's just, I just want to say thank you for this class, actually, because it's something that I've been struggling with at the minute, because I feel like I've, not know how to be serious, really, and it's almost left me not doing anything. So the tips you've gave from this class I can see myself being able to, like, introspect a bit now and move forward a bit. Because, the wanting of a spiritual master's there, but I've not known how to go about that. And, I feel like, I wanted to go further and be more serious. So it's nice that, this class has happened. And so thank you. It's, it's given me
some helpful tips now. So
Oh, thank you.
yeah.
I'm glad we were able to serve you. Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Srila Prabhupada ki. Srila Prabhupada ki. Jai.